Hey guys, hope you're having a good one. I've been doing computer builds for a heck of a long time, ever since like Quake 3 Arena, Doom. We've also done like Duke Nukem 3D, but there's always been one game that has eluded my computers, and that is Crysis. Ever since the new Crysis Remastered hit the shelves a couple weeks ago, I finally have gotten a chance to put my latest computers through the paces, and today we're going to answer that age-old question: will it run Crysis? But we've got an interesting twist on that take today, so let's go check it out. Again, guys, we do all sorts of types of tech reviews on the channel. We do CPUs, GPUs, motherboards, the whole gamut, and I honestly like to test all sorts of types of technology, and today we're going to be putting our gaze back on the online game streaming platforms. We've primarily been looking at the Shadow platform. I've got a link up at the top right up there in case you want to check out some of those videos, but it is a service that provides a virtual desktop experience with a subscription service that gives you pretty decent hardware. It's about a GTX 1080 equivalent. Again, I've got a hardware review if you're curious what kind of performance it has, but some of the marketing material says that it provides performance up to 1080p 120 Hz and all the way up to 4K 60 FPS. Now, that's a pretty powerful claim to put out there, and we've got a really heavy piece of gameplay to do. So we're going to walk you through it and show you guys what it's like to play Crysis Remastered at 4K through the Shadow gaming service. So let's go take a look at the first intro level to Crysis and see if this virtual computer has what it takes. But before we get to the gameplay, let's talk about the Shadow settings really quick. One of the good things about Shadow is it can handle practically any kind of network connection you throw to it. All it does is sacrifices your download speed for the quality of the screen. For today's recordings, we're going to be using 50 megabits on the download speed, and we also have enabled the low bandwidth mode to kind of see what the X265 quality looks like from the gameplay. So let's jump into this gameplay, shall we? Alright, so we have finally crashed down onto the island. This is after the first intro scene, and we are starting off today with 4K at medium settings. By default, Crysis wanted to put us at the high detail settings, but I thought that might have been a little aggressive. But right out of the gate, we are seeing pretty decent FPS up there at the top left. We're in between, mid 40s to upper 50s, but we don't have a lot going on here. We do see some pretty good shadows and detail quality, which is nice. So as we start to sprint up here, let's take a look at 4K at low settings. Now, one thing you'll notice right off the bat is the FPS definitely is increasing, but you do also get to observe some fidelity decreases as we're running through this little river area. But, for the gameplay experience, the FPS is pretty smooth, and I'm enjoying it so far. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments if this looks smooth or not. So let's dip into this cave, and we're going to do our first little heads-up comparison between the medium detail setting and the low detail setting. Now here we go, we've slowed down the speed down to 25% playback, and on the left we've got the medium detail setting, and on the right is low, and I hope it's blatantly apparent, but the details on the medium setting are clearly superior. There's lots of more rocks in the sand, and there's just much more detail. But let's go ahead and swap back over to the low gameplay and see what it's like to actually get into a little bit of a firefight here. All right, let's swap into our reflex sights, and oh my goodness, there's a guy. Pretty smooth. Let's try out medium. Now see, we are starting to see a little bit more jaggedies going on with the gameplay, so 4K medium's not looking too good. Let's try a ranged engagement now. All right, pretty easy. Swap back over to low. All right, nice. We got those kills pretty easy, but again, the 4K at low settings is just really playable. I'm really liking it so far. As much as I like the increased detail settings with the medium, low just seems much more playable. And let's put these both side by side as we're sprinting up to our next rendezvous point. And again, the sand is much more detailed over on the left-hand side with the medium preset, but on the right, we still get a pretty decent amount of detail. All right, we've met up with, Jester. Sorry, my bad. Got the wrong guy's name. But let's go on our first on-rails comparison when we're going to be going through this little hill here. Now, what I did was I'm going to be taking a little bit of a different path. Let's see what 1440p looks like, shall we? or on the top row, we're going to have the 4K resolutions. The bottom row is 1440p. And oh man, that bottom right chart there, 1440p at low, this is definitely the kind of gameplay we were looking for. But unfortunately, the 4K at medium, it just still is really choppy. But you know, 1440p medium, that's not that much better. All right, now we've got the 1440p side by side. Again, we are seeing much better detail with medium, and the low is just much more playable. Now, one thing you'll notice, and yeah, you can see it here in this picture, the fog at night just looks so much more immersive with the medium setting, and at low, we just lose a lot of that detail. Hopping on up. Again, we get to see more of that nighttime fog, which looks really good. And you can also see that the quality of the light from the flashlight when we're bobbing through this brush, it just looks much more, immersive with the medium setting. Let's go into our first cinematic sequence here, and now we've got all 4 of the different settings played up side by side. We've tried to sync them up as much as we can, and we've got all of the FPS values at the top left of each of their respective scenes. And one thing I noticed right off of the bat is with the low detail settings, there is no blood on the ground. They've actually sacrificed some of the quality textures in order to get improved FPS. It's definitely removing some of the cinematic storytelling that's going on in this scene. But look at that FPS, 1440p low, 87, and then surprisingly 4K at low. We are right at around 45, 47, and it's pretty smooth. And unfortunately, the medium FPSs are just really not that great. What are we going to find? All right, now we've got both of the, oh my goodness. We've got both of the 4K setups going up head to head. On the left is medium, on the right is low. And right here, you honestly can't tell the difference between low and high, or low and medium, sorry. But you can definitely tell that there is a FPS improvement going with medium. And again, here's a good shot of the blood spatter just not showing up on the low detail settings. But, take it for what it's worth. I think it's worth sacrificing a little bit of the texture detail in order to get that better FPS. But so far, 4K is not looking too bad. We are in a very, light sensitive area, so that the gameplay is not that great, but maybe things change once the sun starts to come up in the game. Now, let's go into the next set of sequences where we're actually going to engage our stealth motor, but this time we're going to take a comparison between 4K low on the right-hand side and 1440p medium. This is kind of a compromise scenario where we reduce our resolution in order to get a better detail setting, or we're going to reduce our detail setting in order to get better FPS. And again, we see the better improved fog effect going on with the medium setting, but 4K at low settings, things are looking good. But guys, I'm shocked. I'm really surprised that this little GTX 1080 equivalent P5000 from the Shadow is able to handle the graphical horsepower, at least at 4K. Tell me, guys, what you think down in the comments. All right, now we're getting ready to go to our first sunrise battle engagement. Again, we're going to throw up all 4 of the different resolutions here and show their respective FPSs to kind of show what the improvements look like. Again, that bottom right picture, the 1440p at low, just looks oh so butter smooth. And now we're just going to cycle through the different settings and just show you what the uninterrupted gameplay looks like just side by side with the full screen. We're looking at 4K low here, swapping over to 1440p medium. And another thing you'll notice is when we change the resolutions, the FPS values at the top left change. So that'll hopefully help you keep your head on a swivel if you don't catch the text coming across the screen. 1440p low is the best performer when it comes to the FPS, but let's check out 4K one more time. This is again low detail settings. We do see a little bit of choppiness going on, but I would say that now that the sun is up, the lighting effects are a lot better, and we do get a little bit smoother of a gameplay experience. Now let's take a good long look at the 4K medium setting and just see what the gameplay looks like when we're running it right around 30 FPS. Because, you know, sometimes in the old Crysis game, you know, 30 FPS was just about as much as you could get. God, this game just looks so good. It's aged so well. I think Crytek did a good job porting this over to the newer DX11, and I do believe that the detail, regardless of the resolution, just looks really good. All right, so now we've been looking at shadow gameplay for this whole part. Let's actually look at a control. Let's see what a local gameplay looks like at 4K medium. Oh, much better. This is running on my current gaming rig. It's got a 2080 Super in it, as well as a 10700K. This is our GPU test bench, and just look at how much smoother this gameplay looks. Now, granted, we are getting right around, I think around 70 to 80 FPS, and the game just looks so much smoother. Now, the shadow gameplay was not unplayable by any stretch. I thought it actually handled it very well. But, you know, in comparison to a local computer, there's just no comparison. Again, this is 4K at medium detail settings. We're probably getting close to double, if not maybe even triple the FPS settings. All right, back to the shadow gameplay. Again, all 4 resolutions kind of synced up as best as I could. And look at that. And now that the sun is up, we said this earlier, the FPS values look so much better. And to be honest, guys, I really think Shadow at 4K low with this Quadro P5000 is going to be the winning ticket when it comes to playing Shadow and Crysis Remastered. Again, this is a really incredible game. I've enjoyed playing it, and I think this intro level does a good job of presenting a whole bunch of different scenarios. Granted, it's not like a whole bunch of different enemies on the screen at once. I think it's a pretty good representation of what the game should look like. Of course, I run out of ammo on the last tank in the benchmark. All right, guys, Crysis Remastered. Will it 4K? Yes. Over here on the Shadow platform running 4K at low detail settings, we are able to get a pretty playable experience, especially when the sun comes up. We get around 45 to 55 FPS while doing gunfights, but when the lights go down and all the lighting effects start to come into play, the Shadow at 4K low does start to struggle just a little bit, but I do think it's still a really immersive experience. Now, if you want to go with the Shadow Ultimate or even the Shadow Infinite platforms, they've got the increased GPU capabilities there. I see no problems with Crysis Remastered playing well on those platforms. And more importantly, guys, this plays very smoothly on the Shadow platform. We did a gameplay comparison again up at the top where we compare how the games actually play against a local experience. And, you know, even though the local experience footage we saw on here looked really good, the games played practically identically. So I really do think if you don't have the horsepower and you want to invest in, you know, a monthly subscription service while you're waiting for your parts to get in, you know, assuming Shadow can actually fulfill your order, I think it's really a really great service, and it'll definitely be a good stopgap getting you into the computer hardware scene. All right, guys, well, that's going to do it for me. Quick, short, and sweet. That's the way I like to do it. Hit the thumbs up if you like the video. Of course, you can always hit the thumbs down, but why would you do that? That would hurt my feelings. Share this video with your friends, guys. We love to do Will It 4Ks. If y'all got any games you'd like to see me play over on Shadow, let me know down in the comments. I love to test things out. And heck, if you guys have enough upvotes and share this enough, maybe we can talk Shadow into getting me access to their Ultimate tier and see what ray tracing looks like in Shadow. I think that'd be really cool. So again, guys, thank you for watching. I hope y'all have a great day. We will catch you in the next one. Take care, guys.